How y'all doing? My name is Paul Taylor, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my experience on how God took me up to heaven and showed me around. But before we get into that, I wanna tell you a little bit of the background so you can know what happened leading up to that. I got to Houston on September 11. The reason I know is because when we got off the highway, I seen the news and I was able to see what happened. But before that, on September 10th, I was riding around with my cousin, Carl Moody. We was riding around, and right before I was finna get out the car, he grabbed me by my jacket and he told me that God said I wasn't gonna make it in music because I was supposed to be a preacher. Now, he knew I was coming to Houston to do music. So when he said something to me like that, I wasn't in church. I wasn't doing anything like that to be no preacher. I didn't want to be no preacher or nothing like that. So what he said was so outlandish to me. I didn't even respond to it. I don't even think I got to respond. I just got out the car, but it stuck with me. I always thought about what he was saying, and I always was kind of with me. So now I'm in Houston, I'm doing everything wrong. Everything you can think of, I'm out there doing it, but I'm still trying to make it in music, right? I'm doing my music and I finally get to a space and a place. This is a couple years later. I finally get to a place that I feel that I needed to be where real progress was being made. For my music, I had my own record company. I was going to the clubs. They was letting me in free. They was taking pictures of me when I get to the club. I had finally got to a space that I felt I wanted to be. I'm not from here and, I'm down here and my career is going forward. I'm only like 22, 23 at the time. So this is cool to me. And then I hear God say to quit. To quit? Yes, quit. I didn't understand what was going on. Keep in mind, I'm not no church going person. I don't even know how, looking back, I don't even know how I knew it was God, but it was God. So I told a few close people to me, like God told me to stop doing music. And I'll never forget the disgust that one of my homegirls had at the time. Her name Red, and she ended up doing music too, and she had a big song on the Houston station at some point. But she said, you took a break. She just said it was such a disgust. Now this back in I think it was 05 maybe. And I can't say God told me to quit. So I kind of had to eat that, you know what I mean? So fast forward a little bit, it's December 13th, 2005. My man Mon and his brother Tupac come over my house. And now how I met Mon is with my man Mitch. So Mitch stayed next door to us when I first moved down here. It was Mitch and Mon all the time. They was like 5, 6 years older than me, but they took me around with them everywhere, introducing me to the underworld, you know what I'm saying, the underground world. And it was all good. Mitch ended up going to jail, but me and Mon stayed close. So this was like 3, 4 years after we met. And him and his brother came to my house December 13th. Reason I know is because it was my daughter's birthday in a couple days. They wanted me to go with them to go take care of the situation because some dude supposedly beat him out of some syrup. He say the dude had a false bottom in the syrup or something. So I told him I ain't going. All I could see is something going wrong with me and my daughter's birthday. I missed my daughter's birthday party. If they would have called me in another month, if it was like November, I probably would have went because I was ignorant at the time, and sometimes we can have loyalty to things that we shouldn't have, you know what I mean? But anyway, so now he asking to use my gun. He putting the pressure on me. His brother is. He begging to use the gun. I'm like, nah, man, nah, no. And then Mom was like, man, he said, no, man, let's just go. I could see Mom didn't want to do what ended up happening. He didn't want to do it. But this is his brother. So he tried to leave like 3, 4 times, but his brother's like, nah, Paul, just let us use it. We're going to bring it back. Finally, I gave him the gun. And that was the last time I heard from my man, Mom, man. Shout out to Mom. We cool. It's all good now. But yeah, so they ended up taking the gun. I never heard from him again. So that particular night when I went to sleep, I had a dream. Now this wasn't an ordinary dream. This was a dream when Moses went up the mountains to get the 10 commandments from God and to talk to God. He come back down, everybody was partying, but it seemed like real life, like I was right there with him. And so that happened to me. I come back. Now the next day when I come back, I gotta go audition for a movie. So I go to audition for the movie and I just tell them everything I'm telling you right now, like what's going on. I need some answers. Forget this movie. I need to know what's happening to me because obviously something is going on. God tell me to quit music. Then I had this dream. And it's a Houston promoter that was in there that day when I auditioned. I don't know if he remembered this or not, but his name was Lil Keith. Lil Keith was in there with me that day. Shout out to Lil Keith. So that happened. They didn't really give me too many answers, but they didn't write me off neither. It was a good discussion. It was cool. I left. I ended up getting a small role in the movie. The movie was called The Water Risings. Now, I need to know what's going on. So I shut my whole life down, My kid's mother, my oldest daughter, Destiny, mother, Tony, she had my car, she was gone. I shut my life down from that day until December 23rd, trying to figure out what's happening to me. December 23rd come around, I'm like, forget this, man, I'm going back to my life. So I call a meeting with all my closest friends. They come to my house, I put a plan together. Look, this is what we about to do. I gotta get back to it. That's December 23rd. December 24th is the so-called Christmas Eve. That's the next day. My kid's mother come over there, Tony, she come to my house. So we there, we watching TV, we chilling. We end up going to sleep that night after 12. So it was a so-called Christmas. That's when I was taken up to heaven.
Hi, my name is Terry. I'm Pastor Paul Taylor's mom. I'm here to tell my testimony of how I know without a doubt there is a God. 20 years ago, in December, I got a call from my son. He was panicking, he was scared, he was crying, he was confused. He was telling me that God was talking to him, that God took him to heaven and was calling on him to do his work, and he didn't understand.
That night, we went to bed around 12 o'clock, and that's when I was taken up to heaven. When I first get to heaven, the very first thing I could think about, the very first thing that's on my mind, because I still have my mind, I still have my thoughts, I was still me, I just was there, is the fact that I did not feel guilty. I remember that. I didn't feel guilty for not feeling guilty. Now, this is what I mean by that. We all have attachments to things on the earth, man. I gotta be there for my kids. I gotta be there for my family. All these reasons that we feel like we can't leave. I can't leave right now. Who's gonna take care of my kids? I didn't feel none of that. I felt peace. I felt joy. I felt amazing. Wasn't no sorrow, no more pain, no more worries. It was none of that. I didn't feel anything, and I did not want to come back. And I felt that feeling like, wow, feeling guilty for not feeling guilty. Because if we left our children or we left our loved ones, we would probably feel like we let them down. The next thing that happened is I was led up to like a pillar. Now, keep in mind, I described these things 20 years ago the same exact way. It was a pillar that I saw. So I'm looking at it and I'm touching it, and it was actually some jewels on there that I had never seen in my life. I can't explain it because I never really seen it. That's like if you seen an animal or some things that you just never saw before. Now, I could tell you this, if somebody show up with a diamond or something that probably costs $50 billion, right? That they split on one diamond, I'm sure it's gonna be amazing and blow all our minds. It's probably gonna shine in a way we ain't seen nothing shine before. That's how the jewels was that I seen on this pillar. Someone else described that you could see colors that you never seen before. So you can't really describe a color that you never seen because your mind can't go there. This was something that I never seen in my entire life. And it was just beautiful. I remember touching it in amazement, like, wow. Then I was led by an angel. Now, I don't have a description of what the angel looked like. I was just being led to another door. The door ended up opening, and I did see the streets made of gold. Now, keep in mind, I did not read the Bible at the time. I was a person that was dissing the Bible and different things like that. You know, I had diss songs about the Bible. I was doing music. So I remember having one line in my music that say, "In aliens, I don't really know, but it's been a lot of missing people around Bermuda Triangle." And I say, in Jesus, his head was like wool. The Bible could have been the biggest trick the devil pulled. Those was my rhymes. So for me seeing this, I'm like, wow, the streets was made of gold, but again, it was gold that I had never seen in my life. It was a different type of gold that we can't fathom. And then I seen some mansions, but it wasn't like house mansions. Again, it was magnified. So say if everybody had their personal, not necessarily a state, but not a city. But if you meet somewhere in between, that's what it looked like. And it was all made of gold. It was like a whole different world that I had never seen in my life. So I was in amazement with that, and I could still see it today. Same story hasn't changed. And there's people out there that I've shared this exact thing with. And fast forward on now, we get to another room where I'm actually talking to God. Now, people gonna say, man, you can't see God and live. First and foremost, I didn't know that was in the Bible. And secondly, I never said I seen him face to face. This is how I'm describing it, and this is how it happens. So if you take some dust that's in a corner and the dust start turning to a tornado, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's turning to a tornado. That's what happened. So I share what that meant later because I just found out what that meant. I love that this happened 20 years ago. So to me, it makes the story even more realer because now I can go back and I got a little more knowledge now so I could see the things differently that was happening to me, back then. So anyway, it was a tornado and it was spinning. I talked to God. God told me a few things. Now, keep in mind, I'm 23 years old. So my questions is not real big questions. Nobody sit and think, hey, if I could see and talk to God face to face, what would I ask God? That's not something I thought about. So my questions was very small. However, he did answer my questions. I'll share a few things with you guys that he did tell me. He knew there was two particular people that I loved a lot. I love these two men, and I would watch they videos, they DVDs constantly. I would listen to their tapes. I really love these men. So God taught me two valuable lessons based on these two men. One, he told me that to not be prideful. He told me never brag on your looks again. At the time, I was arrogant and prideful. I'm not gonna say I'm not prideful now because I think it's prideful for me to say that I'm not prideful. But I try to walk in as much humility as I can now. But he said, don't brag on your looks, don't be prideful. God do not like pride. Second thing he told me, do not worship another man. And he used these two men as examples because he knew I love these men. One was very prideful, one, worshiped another man. No human, only God can get that worship. Those two things that he told me. The other thing that he told me is everything was accounted for in heaven. I felt like people was ungrateful in my life. I felt like the things I did for people, I didn't get recognition for it. They was ungrateful. Then God told me everything was counted for in heaven. Every action that we do is recorded in heaven. Now, looking back at it now, people can't fathom how the Bible says that you will be judged for every idle word that you speak. We think, maybe that's not true, but I can tell you this: everything that we do is recorded in heaven. Every action that we do. So that's something that God told me. He told me a few other things. I'm gonna share those with you guys later. But those was two main things, and I always remember. 20 years later, I started reading the Bible. Before 20 years. And now I see how God really feel about pride. And I'm like, wow, he told me these things. And these things I teach my kids now, not to be prideful. I see how God really felt about idolatry and worship. If you know the Bible now, you can see that was a big deal and God did not like it at all. So those things happened. When I woke up, I could feel myself coming back to my body. I screamed like, got back to my body. I have no idea of what just happened to me, but I know what just happened to me. I tell no one. Now it's December 25th, it's the so-called Christmas day. I stay back. We go to my kids' mother house. We go to Tony's house. She go out and visit some people, take the kids around. My daughter Destiny probably like 6 at this time. They go and do what they gonna do. I stay back. I need to know what's going on, like what's happening to me. I didn't even tell her what happened. So I spent all day talking to God. I thought I had a relationship with God. It was very small. Reason being is because the God the God you get. So yes, I did go to heaven. My knowledge of God was very limited because I was still doing all kind of wrong. I was still in the streets. I was still doing all these things. So, like a lot of people now, they think them and God is okay. They think they cool with God, but they live in sinful lives, because they just don't know who he is. But anyway, I'm talking to God all day trying to figure out what happened. We go back to my house. It's nighttime now. So now we at my house. I'm still thinking, but I'm chilling. We watching a movie. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the hairs on my arms stick up. My body break out in what people might identify as goosebumps, but it's like hides come on my body. I'm crying uncontrollably. Nothing is making me cry. I'm looking at her, Tony Sheeta. I'm looking at her. I'm talking buckets of tears. I'm just crying like crazy. And I'm like, it ain't me. I'm looking at her like, I don't know what's going on. Now God is telling me some stuff. And I just kept saying, man, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. He telling me some heavy stuff that I haven't really shared too much with anybody. Some heavy stuff happening. And the Spirit of God must have been on her too, because rightfully so, if she would have got up and ran, which she probably should have, I would have understood now. Not at the time, but I would have understood now, like, that wasn't a normal situation. But she just kept saying, like, stop fighting it, stop fighting. I'm telling her, no, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And I'm crying. She looking at me, I'm looking at her. I don't know what's going on. I remember going into my bathroom and like putting my head down on the towel rack. God just telling me some things, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do it. I'm crying. It's an amazing experience, but I don't look at it like that at the time, because he telling me some heavy stuff. And it's a supernatural experience that I'm having right there in my bedroom. And it's unbelievable, you know? So in the guy ended up leaving, and I was left with that. I end up the next day, I end up calling my mom. My mom felt as if she heard me out. She was cool. But later I found out she thought that I was on drugs or I had, you know, lost it, which I ain't mad at her for thinking that. You know, your son called out the blue talking about he didn't went to heaven. He seen heaven and God talking to him. That was some wild stuff that took place.
I calmed him down. And once I got off the phone with him, I cried my eyes out. And I'm ashamed of that now. Because the first thought that came to my mind by hearing all the stories about the pill issue in Houston, I thought someone had slipped something in my son's drink or he had taken something and he was confused, messed his mind up.
Right after that, I called my homegirl, Tab. You know, her name Tabitha, she go by the name Troublesome, but we did music together. And I got a lot of love for her. Even our bond was so strong back then, I still got love for her today a lot. You know, if she ever needed me, it's all good. Even though, you know, our paths went differently. I called her and I talked to her dad. And I told her dad, well, I asked for her dad number. She gave me his number. I told her dad what happened because he was a pastor. He was a man of God. I can't say he was a pastor. I don't want to put that on him, but I know he was a preacher or something like that, a man of God. He just told me to read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Never forget it. I read it, I think, that same day. I just went and read. I'm trying to say, I don't know what happened to me. I know I talked to God and all these things going on. I don't know what's finna happen or how it's finna go from there. So that was the next day. I don't know how I ended up getting a hold of this book. This book somehow ended up in my life. It was Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life. I don't know how I had it, but I ended up having it. So I ended up reading that book. My mom, she sent for me because she wanted to look me in my eyes to make sure I ain't on drugs or I ain't going crazy.
Woke his father up, and we decided to send a ticket to bring him home. A few days later, my son came home and I took him in my living room. And I sat down across from him and looked into his eyes and asked him to tell me the story again. And once he told me the story and I saw him, I knew it was true, that he had got the calling from God. And then I cried again because that was one of the proudest moments of my life.
So I ended up reading that book. I went home, talked to my mom. She seen I was all good. I came back. And at the time, somebody has told me that was the nicest they ever seen me in their life because in my mind, I just went to heaven. It's all good. So I'm giving them $50 tips I'm spending all my money. And also God said everything was accounted for. So I'm trying to do everything for everybody. If I seen you carrying bags, I'm like, let me get that bag for you. If I seen somebody cutting their grass, I want to cut the grass. You know what I mean? If I seen somebody raking some leaves, I want to rake the leaves. I'm trying to do everything for everybody because God showed me and told me that everything is written and accounted for in heaven. So that's something you guys might, you know, want to take heed to as well. We know it now. Back in the day, people knew it as karma, but we know it now as reaping and sowing. You know what I mean? So yeah, you might want to, and also a scripture you could attach to it too is do it as you're doing unto the Lord. Don't look at it like paying back or reciprocation. No, you do it because it's the right thing to do as you're doing it unto the Lord. So fast forward that, now it's the 27th. The 27th come around, I meet up with some close friends of mine at that time in my life. I share my experience with them. Now, I was the kind of person at the time, I prided myself on being real. Meaning like, I didn't sell out for money, I didn't sell out for stature, none of this stuff. They seen me do it. I walk out a meeting with millions of dollars on the line. I didn't care about none of that. I'm expressing it so you can see how I felt when my message wasn't received. It could be the biggest person, I wasn't backing down. I just was a different type of dude at that time because I had to be the realest. I had to be real. So I feel like my word is valid. If I tell you something, it's real. But it wasn't received like that when I told them my experience. I thought they was gonna believe me right off the bat. They did not believe me. They was laughing at me. They didn't write me off like, you know, they didn't think I was crazy, but they didn't believe me neither. Another day came and I talked to one of my homeboys. He's no longer with us. Shout out to my man, Donald. I was talking to my man, Donald Richards. He was down here with me. And I told him what happened and he looked at me and said, what you think, you Moses now or something? N-word, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, no, I ain't trying to say. So I was like, man, I ain't telling nobody else, man, you know, and I'm done talking about this. It wasn't getting received what I thought it was. But that experience was different because I remember sharing that with Donald I went to sleep, he went to sleep. I came in the next day in my living room, I'm about to do some sit-ups. So I lay down on the ground to do the sit-ups. He's sitting right there. And it's like a rainbow, a big rainbow around the whole house. It was no way it was coming from outside. The whole house was lit up. And I was like, hey man, you see that? And he stopped me. He's like, I see it, man. I see it. And to me, that was God like backing me up, letting me know like, hey man, he's telling the truth, that really did happen. Some time go past, God come to me and he tells me that I have to suffer many things. So now the parade is kind of rained on me. I went to heaven, I'm thinking I'm cool. Now God tell me I gotta suffer some many things. And what ended up happening, after so many people discourage you, you can get to a place where you think like, man, maybe I'm tripping, maybe it didn't happen. Let me get back to my old life. I'm not doing music, I had this experience, so now I end up going out to the club. I run into this guy, he getting out the car with his man. I think he left his wallet, something was happening, I don't know. I'm going in, I was up at the time, so I end up, helping him. I had some money on him, so I end up giving him a little dough, got him in. His man that he was with, he ended up going to jail. So me and him chilling, and he's doing music. So I don't know how it happened, but anyway, we end up to the point and decide we could come together and just do a little group, me and him, hold it down for his man in jail. This is my way to try to finesse God. So I'm trying to get back into music. I'm telling God like, well, it ain't mine. I did quit, but I can come back and do some music with him in the group. And that's what I end up doing. So we end up doing some music together, and we put a project together. It was cool. We would end up in a group at the time, was called like Messiah Mob, ironically. And I'm like, man, you know what this means? Because I knew what the word Messiah mean. I knew the Christ Jesus was the Messiah. And he like, nah. And I told him, and he was like, yeah, you could talk about that in interviews. We end up real close, man. Shout out to my man Tank. And it was like a brotherhood, but all this stuff was going on with me, so I couldn't really explain it to him. So I end up with him, we doing music, I'm back in the music, now I'm paranoid. I feel like something is gonna happen to me. I'm disobeying God, but I don't even know the extent of disobeying God. I'm back living the life that I said I had walked away from. I'm back on it. And I'm doing that, and then I went home to visit. Just fast forward the story up. It led me back into the streets. So even after all that, I'm back into that life. I tried not to, but I ended up back in. I couldn't change down here. I'm visiting my mom. I show my man Ken, shout out to Ken. I show him the album cover of me and my man Tank. And he's a prophet of God. God uses him. And he say, hey man, I see an angel of death on you in this picture. Now, at the time, I had my gun taken out the garbage. I'm looking around. I just feel like something gonna happen to me. I just feel like something gonna happen. I'm disobeying God. I just feel like something going on. So it wasn't like Ken just was saying some stuff. I kind of resonated with a little bit because I was already paranoid. He told me seen an angel of death on me. That's the true story. As he's telling me this, my mom called on the phone. This house phones was there. She called on the phone. I answered the phone. He on the other line. I'm talking to my mom. She say, put on your clothes. I got some papers I need. I think I'll pick you up. I got some papers I want you to sign. I'm like, what kind of papers? She says, some life insurance. I just bought you some life insurance. True story, guys. So my mom telling me she just got me some life insurance without me asking for it. And my man on the other line telling me I got the angel of death over me. Okay. He ended up telling his dad, shout out to his dad, Mr. Hayes. He said, do not leave Gary until I come and pray for you. Mr. Hayes drove from Detroit to Gary just to pray for me. He prayed for me, looked me in my eyes right there at my mom's house, and he say, Paul, leave everything, and move. I couldn't change in Houston. So I figured I'd come back to Gary and live here because I'm out the loop. I ain't in the street life no more, so it probably would be easier for me to try to change my life around. So I come back to Houston, I sell everything I got. I got computers and all this. I give up a computer for 20 bucks. Everything got to go like $20. I gave some stuff to my friends. I had a car, I felt like the car was cursed. It was an old school car. They treated it like it was a Benz, man. I got pulled over like 2-3 times a week, and I'm not exaggerating. The cops was always on me, and I felt like the car was cursed. It was like, I think the car was maybe like a 1975, so they was loving it. And the cops out, man, so I just left the car in the parking lot. I'm out. I came down there, I announced my call to preach, and the pastor, for whatever reason, He ended up putting us in the newspaper. Now, I'm fresh off the streets doing what I'm doing. I'm not gonna go into the details of what I was doing because I just still don't feel comfortable talking about that stuff, man. I ain't pleased with it, you know, but I will share my testimony in segments that allow it to if I'm trying to help out a young man or something like that. But I don't feel comfortable just doing it. Not trying to take God glory away from where he bought me from. I just don't really like that. I don't really like talking about that like that. But anyway, so he put me in a newspaper and announced that I'm about to preach. So within, I think, like a month, I've coming out the street, I'm preaching. My man called me again. He was like, man, the devil gonna destroy you because you platform too soon. Like, you need to go through discipleship. So I'm in the church. I think we there. I'm in suits. I'm there. I preached one sermon. I did end up preaching my sermon that time, and I'm growing. But then I come to a place that this church stuff ain't real. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I come to myself. I'm out of here, man. This church stuff ain't real. I got a close friend, man. My best friend, Pastor Boone. I'll never forget. I told him, man, I'm out, man. I'm going. This church stuff ain't for me. And my man looked me in my eyes and told me, I'm trusting Jesus. You know, he said, I'm trusting God. And I left. I wanted my spot back, so down in Houston. So I ended up coming back to Houston, and I wanted my spot back. And I don't know church stuff. I had vowed I'd never go to church again. I'm out of there. Only how I go to church is to support my man. And I did. When he was preaching, I go. But as far as me, I'm done with that church stuff, man. I want my spot back. I was in a movie. I had a record deal. I'm finna come get it all back. But I remember a pastor had told me once, he said, if you really call back God, you can never go back to your old life. So I'm back smoking weed, but the weed ain't hitting the same. It's worse. It's making my situation feel worse. It's giving me anxiety or something. I'm back in the nightlife doing all that, but it just really wasn't the same. So this is what happened. I lost out. That happened. I lost the money. My house burned down. I didn't have insurance. My man called me. I was at another spot that I had, and he say somebody lit a fire smoking a cigarette or something, so the house burned down to a crisp. So I lost everything then. Then when I first got back, though, 6 months after I came back to Houston, my dad died. That hurt. I took that hurt. Then I had some other trouble, and then I had another close friend of mine, rest in peace to him, my man Ryan. He ended up, you know, unfortunately passing away as well. All these things happening. So I asked my mom, I say, Mom, you think all this stuff going on because I'm running from God? My mom said, yes, I do.